Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Hello, welcome back to Die Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam. I say welcome back, I'm just assuming you're coming back. If this is the first time you've seen me, then hello. Get out whilst you still can. Thank you so much for joining me back for a Wednesday Waffle. And yeah, hopefully this will be an interesting talk. Like always, I kind of have some things planned out for these, but not a load of things. I'm going to waffle on for a little bit. That's why they're called a Wednesday Waffle. And thank you guys for some suggestions about things I could cover. And definitely some of the stuff you have suggested are things I've thought about or definitely will be covering or didn't think about, and we'll have to do a bit of research and then come back to actually cover those in some decent detail. So, to start us off, I'm going to be telling you about what I've been playing. So this is stuff that I've been playing on and off the channel, but let's go through them. So, War of Civilizations, I sat down with my friend Dave and Jack to play a game of that. So it's a 3 to 5 player 4x, actually maybe 3 to 6 player 4x. We're going to be doing it for the channel, so there will be a whole gameplay video of that as well as a review. And coming into it, I basically learned it, sat down with the guys, showed them a video of what the actual game entails. We all played it, and honestly, first thoughts coming away from it, we were a bit underwhelmed. It has some interesting concepts to it, but I don't know. I think our level of the two people I got sitting with me are people who are, I would say, are heavy gamers. So when I say 4x to one of those guys, they're thinking Twilight Imperium. This was more a real-time strategy game, and I don't know whether it's because we approached it in the mind that it would be a Twilight Imperium, it kind of fell a little flat. But it's just the first impressions of playing that. It's a perfectly serviceable game. There's some decent mechanics in there, but yeah, we all kind of came away from the table a little kind of underwhelmed. Hopefully, though, going into actually playing it again for the channel, we'll have a different kind of take on a more positive take. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll see what we come out with that one. But yeah, it was like I say, perfectly serviceable strategy game. It's just we were kind of expecting more, I think. And also, Dave was basically trying to figure out how to play it, so just started to attack me. So then I had to try and attack him back. And whenever you've got a 3-player strategy game and 2 people are focused on each other, that other person can just get away with a victory. So part of our kind of underwhelmness of it was Dave and I got to a point where we're like, well, there's no way we can win this. And that might have just been how we were playing it, as opposed to how it's designed. But yeah, so we've got some different strategies going into next time. So stay tuned. War of Civilizations. The jury isn't out on it yet. We're still thinking, yeah, okay, we're going to give this game a chance. There could be something really fun there. So yeah, we will be doing a full gameplay on the channel. End of the month, I think it'll be up. We're filming it on the 25th, I think, which is maybe a Thursday. I know we're filming on a Thursday. That's as much I know. So yeah, so once we film that, we've edited it, that'll be up, and then it's on Kickstarter, I think, in February. So hopefully it'll be up before the Kickstarter to give you an idea of if this is a game for you. Next, Doria the Explorer. Doria is a really fun dungeon crawl. Dungeons of Doria. We got sent the review copy of that. It is really big. It's a huge game. You already might have seen me kind of learning as I played on the channel. If you haven't, check it out if you want a bit more ideas about what Dungeons of Doria is all about. But I had Christopher come over and we basically sat down and we played the first Grim Reaper kind of mission in there, the first quest. And yeah, for the most part, we really enjoyed it. There's some really interesting mechanics around action points, the initiative value of everyone. It really matters about when you spend things to do things. You can do a lot with it. There's a load of content in that game. The kind of negative sides of the first impression video we had, Christopher kind of came away from it feeling like there wasn't really a theme to the dungeon we'd gone in. So we had every single monster you could think of, all different types. It wasn't like, oh, this is a dungeon full of undead monsters, or this is a dungeon full of orcs or something. They were like, oh, there's loads of different monsters in here. And yeah, thematically that didn't kind of sit well with him. Whereas I didn't mind so much. I just kind of thought, well, these locals have asked us to go into a dungeon, and they did say there are monsters. So yeah, I didn't mind so much. Like it reminded me of when I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and you go into a room. They don't necessarily have to have a dungeon. Every room in a dungeon have goblins in. It could be you go one, it's a goblin. Next one is an owlbear. Next one it's something else. Yeah, overall, it seemed like there's a crazy amount of variation in the monster modifiers in there, but it's kind of like it could be really good, but also it could be really random. So anyway, overall, we've really enjoyed Dungeons of Doria, and we're definitely going to be getting that back to the table to try again, see how we get on with it. I will probably be filming it solo on the channel, just with 2 characters, and just running through one of the campaigns to begin with and seeing how we get on with that. So yeah, looking forward to playing it though. Like, it's one of those games, we got it to the table. I'd been itching to get to the table because I've been really looking forward to playing this. Got to the table, we played it, I'd explained it all, we went through the whole thing, we had some really fun kind of music from melodice.org playing in the background, so it's really kind of like immersive. And yeah, it was just a really fun game. But like I say, the theme didn't quite hit Christopher for that. But yeah, personally, I quite enjoyed it. He enjoyed it, but it's just the theme for that particular dungeon he wasn't 100% on. So yeah, we will be doing that on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Next one, The Stifling Dark. This one was one that I wasn't quite sure how Christopher would enjoy this. So normally when I play a 1 versus many game, I'm the one, because the person who has the rules, who's kind of learned the game, generally has to run the game, and the person who's playing the 1 generally has to be that person who's running the game. However, Chris was like, I want to be the villain, so I want to be that guy. So we played 2-player game of The Stifling Dark. It's a horror 1v many hidden movement game, and it was fantastic. It was really fun. It was a very tight game. There's 3 different adversaries in there, all with different kind of like win conditions, depending on which side of the map you've got as well. You have different things. There's events you can chuck in there. There's a whole host of characters you can do. We played the basic mission where you're going up against the Butcher, and the Butcher's mechanics are quite fun because basically he kind of has to stalk you. So basically he has to be in line of sight of people, and then if he's in line of sight, he gives you a little token, and then if he's able to be in line of sight of you in the next round, then basically he takes that token back and he gets his stalkometer goes up 1, and it means he can then start using his abilities and powers to try and attack you. And all he has to do is kill one of the kind of characters in there, whereas the other people, what they have to do to the many, their job is they're basically going to find evidence of supernatural activity wherever they are. So we're talking in a 2-player game, we just had to find in a 3-player game where you're one person who's playing as the adversary, and then one person playing as 2 characters, so it's a 3-character game, I guess. You only have to find 2 pieces of evidence. You go into an area, you look at it, you get the evidence, and then you have to find a computer to put 2 lots of evidence in. Once you've done that, you then can choose which end game you want to try to set off. What makes this game really interesting is there is a little acrylic light flashlight you put down to say which way you're facing, and it was so tense. It really kind of encapsulated the theme they were going for. It felt like a really good, it was really tense. I felt that the theme in there, the mechanics are really good. So overall, Stifling Dark, our first impressions, fantastic, really fun. I finished it with Christopher, and I just wanted to get back out again and play again with some other characters, try a different map, try putting some events and stuff in. But yeah, overall, Stifling Dark, it'll be on the channel. We'll probably do a 3-player, like 1-person adversary, 2 people playing as kind of characters. Definitely we'll be filming a ton of that on the channel. It was so much fun. So yeah, stay tuned for that. What else have I been playing? Well, for the channel, stuff you're actually going to be able to see, and one of these you've already seen, is Tridera Strike Team from Shadows of Brimstone. I absolutely love Shadows of Brimstone. That is not a kind of thing I hide very well. I own so much of it as well. The amount of content I have for this is ridiculous. And Tridera Strike Force was something I was really interested in seeing how they play. I have filmed 3 videos so far. The first video was just 2 characters, which was out on Monday. The next video is out on the following Monday, which has got another 2 characters. And then I filmed the very first of the campaign missions, which has got all 4 characters. I make a few mistakes playing this, but I have a blast doing it. going into the derelict ship as well. So I'm kind of doing two things here. I'm playing with the Tridarian Strike team, but I'm also trying out the derelict ship. It's something I picked up when I first got this game years ago. But because other games came in that were shinier and they were painted, Shadows of Brimstone sat just kind of gathering dust for a while. So when I decided to get this back onto the channel, I was really excited to actually get the derelict ship out onto the table, because I absolutely love the theme. I love the Necronauts, they look so cool. And I actually have more Necronauts that actually come with a box, because I remember they've got these little visors, and I'd broken, well actually I hadn't broken them, they came, the sprues, they actually came broken, and I wrote off to Flying Frog, and they actually sent me a couple more Necronauts, so that's why I have a couple more. But yeah, playing with the Tridarian Strike team was really interesting. I love their strike mechanics, that's pretty cool. And the derelict ship, I really enjoyed the theme, the setting of that. And I had to add in some course-based terrain as well. If I've got it, I may as well use it. And I've really enjoyed the doors that come with, that you can get for Shadows of Brimstone. But they don't have anything for the derelict ship yet that I'm aware of. So yeah, course-based just made sense that I could use those things. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing a bit more of a crossover with Core Space and Shadows of Brimstone, just to trial it and see how we get on, see what interesting things we could kind of come up with. So you might see some custom content, which is a cross between Tridarian Strike Team and Core Space and the derelict ship. So watch this space. So yeah, Tridarian Strike Team, highly recommend trying that out or watching the videos. It's great. And if you've not played Shadows of Brimstone and you're interested in it, or if you have played it and you want to know where to start, I am doing a buyer's guide from this guy's opinion on what you should get if you're going to start doing Shadows of Brimstone. Also, I'll include in that, if I remember, painting as well, what kind of paints you should be getting. I see a lot of things about people asking what kind of, how they should start painting, what do they need. So maybe if you guys would like me to do a little video on that, I can do that as well, or just include that in the Shadows of Brimstone buyer's guide. And finally, the other thing I've been playing a lot of is Dungeon Saga Origins. And I mean, it's pretty obvious if you look at the channel, the stuff we've been like churning out in December and January, it's Shadows of Brimstone, it's Dungeon Saga Origins. So I've now completed the first 10 missions, the entire first campaign. I made some mistakes along the way. I've asked some questions about them as well, and I don't know, sometimes it feels like there's a bit of defensiveness about, that's not even a word. I played a few games. Rulebooks can be interpreted in many different ways. And also, hands up, as someone who's played a lot of games, I make a lot of assumptions, because if I play one dungeon crawler, I just assume certain elements from that dungeon crawler are in other games. It's like when I watch a movie, I'm like, oh, this is like the other movie I saw. So yeah, I do make some assumptions in it. So it's not all kind of doom and gloom on kind of rules and stuff. The rule book as written is pretty good, but it is open to interpretations. One mistake that I do make in my my playthrough is spawn points. So at some point in the Trial of Tyranny campaign, you have spawn points put down on the actual map itself, and the rules in the book state that the Overlord gets to spawn something every round on those spawn points. Problem with that is I couldn't see anything about you shouldn't be spawning that if they haven't been revealed. If you just got a little kind of thing in there saying, oh, the Overlord can spawn something on some monsters on that spawn point once it's been revealed, that would have cleared that up for me. So I asked the question after the fact, after I'd filmed it, because yeah, I played it, and as I was playing, I was like, oh, what happens in this situation? I had to make an educated guess. I thought what would probably be the right. I'm going from what's printed down in the adventure book, but yeah, it doesn't, that I could see, it doesn't actually go into any more detail about spawn points. Anyway, so like I say, I've completed the first 10 missions of the Trial of Tyranny campaign. So I completed that campaign. I had a great time with it. I had quite a few questions out the back of that. Some of those being assumptions, but if I'm honest, it does feel sometimes when I've been asking questions, I'm getting a little attacked, which isn't nice. But it's probably just interpretation of like how people respond to you. The written kind of word isn't always can always be interpreted differently, I guess, just like a rulebook. Anyway, overall, Dungeons Saga Origins, I've had a fantastic time with it. I really enjoy the theming of it. I really enjoy the gameplay mechanics in it. The digital app, really good what they've got so far. It's still in beta stage, so there's some stuff they can kind of tweak and change. And yeah, I think they're doing a great job, and it's really quick as well, that app. But I'll go into some more details about that on a different video. But yeah, Dungeon Saga Origins, great fun. Highly recommend it for anyone who's looking for a dungeon crawler, and I'm really excited to see what else they're going to kind of bring out for this kind of system in the years to come. Really, it's just a great little package. So yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I was asked what I've been painting. So I've not really been doing much painting recently, just because I've been kind of recovering from surgery. So I've mainly just been kind of editing or feeling really rough. So I have, however, been painting two things. I've been painting some Shells of Brimstone Trideran characters. So I have the Tridera box. All those miniatures have been mostly assembled and sitting in the box for years. I've never even gone to Tridera. I've owned it, I've got all the stuff for it, never even played on it. So I'm planning on my Trideran strike team run to have you've got to choose two worlds. The primary world I've gone for is the derelict ship, and the second world I'm going for is Tridera itself. So I'm planning to have the actual Trideran forces be the main kind of villains of their main adversaries, really. So I just chose one of the factions that wasn't represented in the strike team, which was the Shintaro Corps. I went out and got a Blood Angel red contrast paint, and I started painting them up. So they with contrast paint, using the Blood Angel red contrast paint. What's the black one? Black Templar, I think it is. I've got a really nice leather brown from Army Painter. So those three colours are basically the main colours in there. I've got like just lead belcher for the gun, and then a Cygor brown for the wood on the guns. A couple other colours in there as well, but I will be kind of just painting all those things up. All the mutants, I've been painting up their arms, all different colours and stuff. It's been really fun painting up all these Trideran kind of miniatures, and I'd say I'm probably about 30% through before like my kind of batch of these guys to do. So I've still got quite a lot to do. But yeah, I will be painting those. I will be posting them up on the Instagram for you to check out. I'll put them up I'll post them up on here as well for you guys to have a look at. And if you'd like to see any painting tutorials, let me know. I won't be doing any for the Trideran stuff, because I am painting through that and just getting that out as quickly as possible. It won't be parade. Is it parade ready this year? Well, I don't know. It basically, it's never going to win any awards, but it'll look all right on the table, and that's all I'm going for. So Shadows of Brimstone, I've been painting those guys. I've also assembled the Flesh Stalker and the drones. I've had those for years, but yeah, finally coming around to actually assemble those, because I need some more derelict ship villains. So what better kind of villain to start with when that kind of adversary? So I've assembled those now. I'm going to be spray painting them along with the Satakis Raiders, the kind of pterodactyl chaps. So those guys, the Flesh Stalkers and the Shikari Nomads, I'm going to be painting those guys up for my strike team run. If you would like to see the Shikari Nomads and the Sataris Ravagers, whatever they're called, let me know ASAP, because I haven't started painting those guys yet. So if you let me know now and you want to see me paint them, let me know, and I'll do a little video for that. Because I am going to do some videos for the next thing that I'm painting, which is the Dungeon Saga Origins Glimmer of Greed. So the DSO Glimmer of Greed, it's the next kind of campaign. It's not on the app at all, so the Digital Overlord, I won't be able to use this for at a time of filming, which is a bit of a shame. But at the same time, they're doing a lot of good work there. So they as far as I'm concerned, they could take as long as they take. But yeah, we're still planning on filming all of the Dungeon Saga Origins solo play, all 4 campaigns, and the last 2 kind of like Danger and the Deer, or whatever it's called, whatever that last 2 kind of scenario thing is. So we'll be doing that solo. and then we'll also be doing multiplayer. So you've got that to look forward to, and hopefully once I've played them all solo, I'll have a really good idea of what the kind of heroes can expect and what kind of tricks and traps I can throw at them. After playing the first 10 of those, there's some of those missions I actually can't wait to play with the guys, because they're fine playing it solo. But when you have that book and you have to refer to the book and you know what's going to happen, kind of takes a bit of the sheen off of it a bit. Yeah. But painting wise, Glimmer of Greed, my good friend Nick has asked if I could do some painting videos for those. So at the moment I'm painting up a couple of different sculpts, just a trial test to see what colours I am going to use. Mostly contrast paints, helps you get through these quicker. And when you've got 4 campaigns worth of miniatures to paint, yeah, kind of anything that can help speed you up or and look good is always good in my book. So yeah, so stick around for the channel if you want to see some Dungeon Saga Origins Glimmer of Greed goblins. I'm going to be painting up those guys, and yeah, showing those off to you guys. We have got a couple of painting videos already on the channel. I did a frost giant and some other stuff as well, so yeah, stay tuned if you want to see any more of my my painting. So that's what I've been painting. There will be pictures online for your approval, or if you think they're terrible, you can tell me as well. So yeah, that's my rambling at the moment. So that's me just telling you about things I've been playing, things I've been painting. What can you expect on the channel for the rest of the month? Well, we've got Strike Team Brimstone, which is the Tradarian Strike Team stuff I've been yammering on about. That's going to be out on Mondays for the rest of the month. You're also going to have the Gates of Valhalla. I've edited up the 2 videos from that, so that's going to be the next couple of Thursdays. I think you can get the 2 parts for the Men of Steel campaign. Also Dungeon Saga Origins every Tuesday. I've got solos for the next couple of months every Tuesday. And there's going to be some other videos here and there. We played Star Trek away missions, Will and myself, so that'll be up as well. I think that's going to be in February. I'm still kind of having a play around with when stuff's going to be coming out, so yeah, stay tuned, I guess. But we'll be having some unboxing videos on here as well. Borderlands, Mr. Torg's Arena, Badass Arena of Badassery or something. Yeah, we did an unboxing for that, and I also did play that recently, but I forgot to mention it. Anyhow, so anyway, that's this channel for the next kind of month. Going into February, we have got a review copy of The Presence, which is like a Victorian horror game, which has looked pretty interesting, so we'll be playing that. We've got a couple of really fun party games as well sent to us. We've got 2D6 Dungeon as well, which we'll be giving that a go. We've just got so much content, so stay tuned if you want to see some really fun stuff. Not just Shadows of Brimstone and Dungeon Saga Origins. And that brings me on to the main subject of today, which is I had a look at some kind of top 10 things I could say and kind of go through, and the top 10 dungeon crawlers seemed to go down pretty well last time, so I thought, do you know what, let's talk about video games, board game video games adaptations. So these are video games that they've adapted into board games, and these are my top 10 that I have played. Now I do know that there are plenty out there that I haven't played. For instance, the Doom board game is always pretty highly recommended, pretty highly rated. Gears of War as well is supposed to be pretty good. Never played it though. And then there are other games like Horizon Forbidden Zero Dawn, whatever that's called, which we played in the channel and we absolutely hated it. It just wasn't for us. And also the Fallout board game. The Fallout board game, nah. It was just a bad experience. And I do know that if you have the Atomic Bombs expansion, it's supposed to really improve the game or actually make the game enjoyable. But yeah, I just didn't enjoy Fallout. So anyway, these are 10 games that I have played, which are board games based on video game adaptations. And I'm going to give you 10 of these, and I'm going to tell you which one's my favourite out of those 10. So here we go. Starting in no particular order. I'm just going to read from top down, just down here. So the first one is one that I played on the channel fairly recently, which is Resident Evil 1. I played Resident Evil 3, 2 and 1, so I had a couple of Resident Evil games to kind of decide from. Now Resident Evil is a game series I've been playing since I was a teen. Really enjoy the kind of story in it. The first couple of games anyway, I enjoyed the stories. And yeah, overall they were, I loved horror films, and you know, anything that kind of immersed you in that kind of thing was fantastic. So Resident Evil really, back as a teen, it really kind of captured my imagination. I thought it was fantastic. So Resident Evil 2, the board game, came out, and I picked that up from Stephen Forge Games, and it was a bit of a flawed gem. There's a few things in there I don't think they do especially well, or it was a bit rough around the edges, but overall it was a good adaptation of the board game. My main problem, I think, was the fact that if you went into there not knowing the complete story, you'd not know what the hell's going on. I just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of felt there should have been a bit more narrative in there. Anyway, Resident Evil 3 was the next game they did, and Resident Evil 3, they did a fantastic job with it, because in Resident Evil 3 it's more of an action game than it is a horror game. You are essentially trying to escape Raccoon City before it detonates. So spoilers. So yeah, so that was always something that I was interested to see how they do in a board game way, and they really did focus on the action. You were speeding through those levels trying to get out, and we did a whole run of Resident Evil 3 on the channel, and I kind of I kind of failed on that last mission. So yeah, as far as we're concerned at the moment, Carlos and Jill, they didn't make it, but I might go back to it. Anyway, that's two I'm talking about. Not the one I chose though. The one I chose is Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 1 obviously has always got a very a sweet spot in my heart. I really enjoyed the game when it came out. I think the whole plot of that first game is fantastic. I think Resident Evil 2's got a better plot, but Resident Evil 1, it was always the first one. You've got Wesker in there, you've got Chris, you've got Jill, you know, Barry. It was just a really interesting kind of game. And yeah, I really think the Steam Forge games, they get a bit of a bad rap sometimes. They made a couple of games which some people just really don't like. I think they did Horizon Zero Dawn actually, which I think is terrible. So yeah, but I myself don't enjoy some of the games they make. However, they did a fantastic job with this. They really captured the feel of the game, the theme of the game. It's just great. It's you feel like you are in a survival horror situation. You're shooting zombies, and the zombies have a chance of coming back up. It really is a kind of gritty horror game. Whereas Resident Evil 3, they made an action game. They really have made Resident Evil 1 a horror game. So that alone, it gets itself into into my kind of top 10 board game adaptations that I've played. But yeah, I think Resident Evil 1 is fantastic. I think it's a great dungeon crawl. It's accessible for people. They put a lot of thought into it. It's clear. It's a kind of labour of love, is what I'd say. So I highly recommend Resident Evil 1 for anyone who likes horror games, who likes the Resident Evil franchise, and who likes board games. Next is Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is by Triton Noir. They did a fantastic game called V Commandos, which we played on the channel, and I just thought it was fantastic fun. When I heard they were doing Assassin's Creed, I was like, that is fantastic. If they're doing a stealth them up, they already did with V Commandos. So what we have with Assassin's Creed is essentially the same kind of mechanics as V Commandos. They've got a kind of narrative campaign in there, and you really do feel like you are going around as assassins. I've not been doing too well during the actual gameplay of it. It's more of a puzzle than it is a game sometimes, and that always kind of, I don't know, that takes me out of the immersion sometimes when I'm playing a game and it feels like it's a puzzle rather than a game. But I am still feeling like I am, you know, these assassins, and it's just the dice gods are so cruel in that game. It's very luck based, or maybe it's just how I'm playing it. But yeah, I am really enjoying Assassin's Creed, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys the video games. I think they've done a fantastic job at capturing the kind of theme of it, the aesthetics in the board itself, there's a legacy element to it. There's a legacy element you can reset, and it's also the campaign you can do multiple times. There's lots of kind of entries at the back of the adventure book for you basically making notes of your campaign and stuff. So this is one you could basically play with some friends, and then you could move on to someone else for them to play, or give to one of your friends to play with their group, or just, you know, play with different people. But yeah, it's a really good adaptation of Assassin's Creed, which makes me think, if someone does Hitman, maybe those guys, and they've already got Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do Hitman next. Okay, so we're going to go to one of the first games, if not the first game I played solo on the channel, Jagged Alliance. Jagged Alliance was a video game from the 90s. I never played it, but it always was on the Amiga magazine or the PC World magazine or something. Always like imagery in there, posters for it, and I was like, oh, this looks like a pretty cool game. Like I say, never played it. So like I say, it's one of the first actual solo plays I played on the channel, and it was fantastic. It was so fun. You can go back and you can watch all the kind of video of me doing it, but it was just, I don't know, it was a really fun game because you're essentially trying to liberate this island, and you can go about it different ways. You're getting new equipment, you're leveling up and stuff. Is just fantastic. Yeah, I don't know really what I can say about it other than I'd highly recommend you check our series out of it on the YouTube itself. I've done the entire thing, and it was a younger version of myself doing it with some fun music, trying to do a bit of production quality on there. And overall, I think it's a fun watch. So yeah, Jagged Alliance. If you can get yourself a copy of that, beg, borrow, steal from somewhere, you probably should pick one up. Yeah, it's just really fun. And the thing is, I don't think you can really get a copy of this though. I think it's pretty limited nowadays. But I really hope they carry on making Jagged Alliance games, because it was I'd love to play that again on the channel. And I did actually pick up a very rare expansion where you actually have these kind of, I think they're aliens in it, which kind of does a kind of different narrative once you get past the fourth mission, which is like the tutorial missions. So if you'd love to see me doing that on the channel, let me know in the comments below, because yeah, I would love to go back to Jagged Alliance and maybe do it with somebody else. So there's a couple people doing it and sharing the experience there. So next is Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is a 1v game where one of you plays a killer and the other four playing survivors. The survivors simply have to power up generators to escape, and the killer has to, well, get enough sacrifice points by putting people on hooks. I've played this game numerous times. There's so many different villains in it. There's so many different heroes. There's some really interesting combinations you can do with the different heroes' abilities. It's a game you have to play 5-player. It does say you can play 2-player, you can play 3-player. It does say 3 to 5 players. You could play it 2-player. But I feel from a killer perspective is much harder when you have just 2 people playing against you, because they're a lot more in sync. Whereas if you have 4 people playing against you, it's a bit easier. Also, some of the villains as well, you have to have played them a couple of times before you're effective with them, which I think is representative of the video game itself. I think that's a good adaptation of it, because the video game, you can pick up any of these killers and play with them, but you might not do very well until you've kind of learned how they play. I feel like the survivors in it, they have a lot of options for things they can do. The deluxe version that I got, it's got some really interesting, lovely minis in there, some nice hooks you can hook people on. The fact you can actually hook these miniatures onto hooks is fantastic. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, Dead by Daylight, I think that's a fantastic game. I think the only problem I have with the game is the board is so shiny. Like, all the components in it are pretty good, I think, but the board is just too shiny. So if you're playing that at night and you've got a light on, it's just reflecting off of the board. Trying to film it for the channel was a real challenge, because yeah, like I say, the board is so shiny, and my dining room, where I film all my content, I've got some very big conservative windows out there, so basically light shining through, bouncing off the board, and yeah, you can't see anything on the camera. So I had to kind of put up some curtains and do a whole thing to try and get that out. But we have had a couple of requests to actually carry on with our Dead by Daylight content. Now, I've painted all of the survivors. I haven't painted all of the kind of killers yet, but I will be painting up the rest of the killers, and we will be doing some more of those kind of videos, because yeah, you guys requested it. So if you want to see more of it, I'll do more of it. I think we're going to do the plague character next. I'm going to read up on her and give her a go. And also we're going to try, so all the characters start with their own abilities, but you can actually do a thing where you randomize the abilities. So we might try that as well and see how that works out. So that's Dead by Daylight. Next, we're going on to another 1v many game, Sniper Elite. Sniper Elite, you will hear me talking about a lot because I really rate it. 1v many games are not my favorite games, although, you know, I've already mentioned Dead by Daylight. I quite enjoy that. Dungeon Saga Origins, I enjoy that. and yeah, Stifling Dark. I really enjoyed that. However, I always find, not always, but most of the time I find that those games are a bit unbalanced on one side or the other. Sniper Elite was the first 1v many game I played in a long time where it felt truly balanced. As the sniper, you will basically have to get 2 objectives, and as the elite, as the German army, you basically have to just find the sniper and defeat them. The game comes with 2 different maps on it, with different objectives in each one of those. A bunch of different cards for both the sniper and the German army. And there's also the snipers, the Eagle's Nest expansion as well, where you have 2 different maps. One of them is like really open and has a dam on it, which I really enjoy that level. And you've got some new equipment and some new abilities and stuff to worry about, as well as like individual kind of sniper cards as well, so you can have different sniper abilities. But overall, yeah, Sniper Elite, there's not much I could really say of it other than it's a really well designed game, really balanced. The only thing that I find baffling is in a 1v many game, where you have to have hidden movement in there, that the people who made the game didn't include a screen to hide your stuff behind. It just seems a bit of an oversight. Apart from that, Sniper Elite is fantastic. I highly recommend it. We played Aircon last year. I'll be bringing it along this year because it was quite popular. So if you see me at Aircon, which I will be there, so come over, and you want a game of Sniper Elite, let me know and I'll set something up. So we're going to move on to a game that isn't technically a straight video game adaptation, but it's my list, so I can do this. This is a game called Kitchen Rush, and why this is included is because there is a very good video game called Overcooked, and this is essentially the board game version of that. In Overcooked, the video game, you are playing as cooperatively or competitively, but mainly cooperatively, as chefs who are basically just trying to rush out food as quickly as possible. You have to pick up the raw ingredients, you have to prepare them, you have to cook them, then you have to serve them up, and then you have to serve them out. Then you have to keep washing up, you have to watch out for fires. The levels themselves are a bit crazy. They kind of have conveyor belts sometimes. They have like themes and stuff to them. Kitchen Rush isn't as involved as all that, but there is a general idea that you are playing chefs, and well, not just chefs. You're basically running a restaurant, and you have 2 timers, and the timers are basically your actions. So basically, you place an action down on a space, and the timer keeps going down, and when the time is finished, you can then move that somewhere else. So when you are trying to create dishes and you've got like a kind of timer, as well as your own stand timers, and you're trying to work with other people at the table, it can get so hectic. It's a lot of fun. Overcooked on the computer, it always feels like a really good game to play, but the amount of shouting that happens and people get angry with each other. The nice thing is Kitchen Rush, you don't really get that anger. You just get people getting impatient and like, give me the spice bag. It's a really fun game, and I think we're going to try and film that on the channel at some point because I'd love to show this off to people. It's a really fun game. If you're looking for a fun family co-op, which can be a bit stressful, then yeah, definitely pick up Kitchen Rush. It's great fun. So we're going to go from the fun side of video games to the sad side, and we're going to talk about This War of Mine. So This War of Mine is a really harrowing video game experience where you are playing as survivors during a war. It's not for everyone. The theme is really bleak. I'm fairly certain some of it at least is based on real events. But yeah, it's pretty harrowing. The board game is a great adaptation where you essentially have some characters who are in this like kind of bombed out building, and you're just trying to survive until the war is over. And now how you're going to do that is you're going to be sending your guys out on supply runs. You're going to be trying to like just basically survive, making sure you've got enough food to feed everyone, that you've got enough warmth and stuff. There's a narrative book in there as well, so when you go out on these expeditions to try and find food and find stuff you can trade with people, you come across these really harrowing situations. One situation I recall from there was went into like an apartment building or something, and there were a mum asleep on a sofa and 2 children playing like with toys or something, and in the kitchen was like a bag of supplies, and you could just take them. Now, I fail the game because when I have these kind of decisions, I'm like, well, no, I'm going to do the right thing. But you know, the right thing, yeah, it's tricky. It's a really like it's a really hard game to get to the table because it's quite involved, and also it's quite, the theme is really bleak. However, it's such a fantastic game. It's a really really eye-opening experience, and they did great with the mechanics of it. Awaken Realms, one of my favorite publishers. Yeah, they did a fantastic job with it. So this War of Mine, I'd recommend everyone play this at least once. It's not one everyone should own, but definitely you should play it. But if you are a person who just enjoys happy games, you probably want to avoid it. But it's definitely in my top 10 of video game board games that I have played. Next, we're on to one of my favourite video games of all time. XCOM, or as I know it, UFO Enemy Unknown. So yes, I absolutely love the UFO Enemy Unknown / XCOM series. I loved it when it came out back in the day. I've never beat the first game, or Terror from the Deep, or Apocalypse. But when they redid them, when they did the new XCOM and they did XCOM 2, complete both those games and absolutely loved them. Fantastic fun. So, an XCOM board game. This is in my top 10 because I think they did a very good job with actually making an XCOM board game. However, it wasn't the XCOM board game I want. Different subject there really, because with me, I want an XCOM board game where you have the actual tactical combat, where you're moving soldiers around like a battlefield and fighting, as well as resource management, base management, world management kind of thing. There's a game called Chronicle X that tried to do that, but I couldn't get past the rulebook. And there's a game called Galaxy Defenders, which I absolutely love, which is just the tactical side of it, but there's no geoscape. So I'm waiting for someone to make a kind of a meld of those, meld being a resource in XCOM Enemy Inside. Didn't mean to do that, but I did. But yeah, the XCOM board game is on there because it's one of my favorite like video games, and I think they did a good job at adapting it. It has an app with it. Whether that app still works, I don't know. It's a pretty old game. My brother owns the XCOM board game. So maybe I should try and play that again and see how that kind of stands up. But essentially, you're all playing as different kind of roles within the XCOM organization, trying to stop an alien invasion. You've got an app which is basically telling you all these bad things are happening, and you're positioning your people around this world to try to stop the bad things from progressing. Bit of an older game, but it was fun, and it's a good representation of the XCOM kind of cooperative element to it, I guess. But yeah, XCOM, fantastic. Really enjoyed it. I wish it was better, but it's the only one we've really got at the moment, so that's why it's on this list. If I could put Galaxy Defenders on there as well, I would, but it's not technically an adaptation of a video game. So this is a video game. The next one is one I briefly mentioned previously, which is Mr. Torg's Badass Arena of Badassery? Or is it just Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery? I don't know. It's a pretty interesting title. Borderlands is a fantastic series of video games I really enjoyed. I remember when the first one came out, it was a bit of a... I picked it up on a whim, and then I was like, my god, this game is really fun. It's essentially a shooter with leveling up. Really, really interesting comedy elements to it, interesting story, and really interesting kind of cel shade graphics in there as well. They made a ton of these games now, and it made sense that someone would make it into a board game. So they've taken elements from the board game and they've made, from the video game, and they've made it into a board game. It's not the board game I was kind of hoping for, I think. I don't know what I was hoping for. This is more of I'll just shoot lots of things and level up. It doesn't seem as a story so much. I guess I kind of wanted to be Vault Hunters, finding vaults and doing that kind of thing, but this time you're just trying to get through a competition of shooting up loads of people. The main thing about Borderlands, it has like a gazillion guns. Like, there's a ridiculous amount of gun combinations and stuff you can have. So it's really important that in this game they actually represented that. I think they did a fantastic job. You got really thick decks of weapons that you're going to be pulling out. The wound mechanics are really interesting as well, because essentially when you get wounded, you're going to trade one of your really nice dice for like a red dice, which doesn't do as well. So it's they went for the theme and they went for some interesting gameplay mechanics, and I think it's pulled it off. Yeah, this is in my top 10 just because I played it only once. So it's only once I played this, but from what I played of it, it was enough to elevate it above other games. It feels like it's not just a cheap kind of cash-in of an IP. It feels like they've actually thought about it. They've actually, done some research. They've tried to they've tried. So yeah, so it's in my top 10 because it just, from what I've played so far, it has a lot of potential. So yeah, that is on my list of things to paint. I'm not looking forward to painting cell shaded graphics, so yeah, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's Borderlands Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery. I think that's what it's called. That is in my top 10. The final one I wanted to talk about is Darkest Dungeon. So Darkest Dungeon is a pretty good roguelike game where you are essentially trying to reclaim your ancestral home from eldritch horrors. The art style of the video game and the gameplay in the video game are great. They're so kind of tight. It's just fantastic. It's such a good game. I'd recommend anyone try that game. It's so cool. So when the board game came out, I was like, yeah, definitely. The Kickstarter came out. They had a ton of really interesting options. They had all these different expansions, the miniatures. They really nailed the artwork for it. The gameplay looked like they'd really nailed the gameplay of it. So yeah, I was like, this sounds fantastic. Let's check this out. So I did check this out. I filmed quite a few videos for this on the channel. I painted up the miniatures. I really enjoyed it. But then the company behind it ruined the game for me, and I got to a point I drew a line and just thought, morally, I don't want to actually support these people any longer. So yeah, there is no more like Darkest Dungeon on this channel. It's a shame that the people behind it have acted the way they have, I guess. And there's much smarter people than me who can go into the ins and outs of Darkest Dungeon and Mythic Games and what happened with their couple of Kickstarters they ran. So I'm not going to go into it. Just suffice to say, Darkest Dungeon, let's talk about the game rather than the people behind it. Darkest Dungeon, they did a fantastic job at doing a simulation of the video game. Kind of too good though, because it's very similar to the video game in the sense that it takes a while to set it up, and in that time you've set it up, you could have just played the video game and done the same kind of thing. However, it's got a really interesting campaign in there. They've really got the mechanics from the video game and they put it into the board game. Playing it solo is pretty tricky because you've got a lot of things you've got to remember in there. As you know, a lot of solo games which are a bit kind of heavier have a lot of things to remember. But overall, it's really good. Art style is fantastic. The components are really nice. There's a storage solution that comes with it, so you don't have to worry about trying to figure out where everything's going to go. Yeah, it's really good, and I'd highly recommend to anyone who enjoys the video game, as long as you can look past the people who made it. But yes, on the game itself, it makes my top 10 list of video games because I think the game itself is a really good adaptation, if not too good. It's kind of too much of a simulation to be worth existing elsewhere, if that kind of makes sense. Same way, like if they... Yeah, like it's the same way if you have like a book of a movie adaptation of a book, which is line for line of what the movie is, if that makes sense. I don't see a point in that. Anyway, Darkest Dungeon, if you do like the video game and would like to see what the board game's like, and you can play multiplayer in the board game, which is something you can't do in the computer games. So there is that. So out of those 10 games that I have listed, which one is my favourite? Well, I think it's very close. I think that if Darkest Dungeon didn't have such a kind of sour taste in my mouth, it'd be pretty high up there in the list of which would be the best. But I think it's got to be Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight, for me, they did a fantastic job of actually representing what the gameplay is, how it plays. There are some really, they've really thought about the characters in it. They thought about the components. Like I said, the board is a shame, but the rest of it is really good. I've played it with people who've played the video game, and I played it with people who haven't played the video game, and all along, people are really enjoying it. The kind of characters in there are so such interesting archetypes, like the killers themselves, the fact they have different abilities and stuff. The hero characters themselves, they have their own abilities, their own stuff going on. It's just a really fun game. It's also really easy to kind of teach and learn. So it's not something you're going to be spending, you know, a couple of evenings trying to figure out how to play it, because it's you know, fairly simple. So I think when you're trying to play a video game adaptation, the simpler it is, the better. It's also got a lot of table presence as well. So you know, if you're playing this at a board game cafe, you're gonna have people who might want to join in. And you know, any of these games, by the way, guys, if you'd like to see them and you're coming to Aircon, let me know. I can pack them in the car, and we can play some games of these. But yes, out of the 10 video game board games that that are in my top 10, I would say that Dead by Daylight is number 1. Anyway, I feel like I've waffled on for more than 20 minutes here, because I was talking about things I'm playing, things I'm painting, and also my top 10. So a bit of a longer Wednesday waffle today. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. My voice is slightly going here from just waffling on. And yeah, stay tuned to the channel. If you do enjoy us, then please make sure you like and subscribe. It all helps us. Leave a comment below. It helps the algorithm know that we're a thing. And if there's any board games that you know that I have that you'd like to see more of, or if there's board games out there that you would like to see me do, let me know. Even better, let the people who make these games know about us, and you'd love to see us cover them, because then yeah, that will kind of not force the hand, but it will make them more keen on helping us help you get more content. And yeah, if you want to support us as well, if you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link to coffee as well. A couple of people did that recently, and that was really fantastic. It's you know, all goes to help the channel kind of get more interesting stuff on there, more content, more Showers of Brimstone stuff, and whatever else is. And also, tell me what your favourite video game, board game adaptations are. Is it not the right way around? Maybe I'll do a twist it around and do my favourite video games, which were board games, and tell you those, because there's a few I've got which I quite enjoy playing. Anyway, I've been the ever excitable Adam. Until next time, guys, make sure you stay safe, or die rolling.